welcome to Inside the UPSL on TV Emax and on TVEmax.com. You can also find us on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter. That is at UPSL Soccer. I am your host, Alex Naveja, and with me, a two-man show tonight is Art F. Dakari. Art, nice to have you on the show tonight. Just you and me, double teaming it.
Sounds like a plan.
As we're here every Thursday night to bring you guys the latest news on the fastest growing pro development soccer league, the UPSL. And we'd like to start you off with Off the Top, where we bring you the latest news on lower division soccer as at long last, Art, we actually have the season coming our way for the Alaska over there as the Cook Inlet Soccer Club dominating the three-day Alaska Airlines UPSL showcase last weekend. What were your thoughts on the whole entire showcase?
I mean, I think it's a good way to get things rolling. You know, a good way to get the ball rolling in the last frontier. And it was just a good start. And Cook Inlet did a good job.
So, moving forward, we have OCFC, heading over to Las Vegas, and they took on the Las Vegas Lights, and a very interesting game. Not a lot of people thinking that OCFC was going to make it that far, but them winning the 25,000, being the last amateur team. You being there, what did you see? Tell us about it, as much detail as possible.
Well, of course, OCFC being the last non-professional team left in the U.S. Open Cup is big news, and yes, being there, the scene for OCFC fans, the scene was awesome. I mean, it was good times. The Las Vegas fans, yeah, they weren't very happy, but what can you say? That's it was an upset victory, a lot of fun. I mean, just it's an unreal feeling, and it was a good time. Really proud of the guys. They're really playing their heart. They're leaving it all out on the field.
And that's already been back-to-back games where they've had a lot of celebrations, a lot of big things going on for OCFC. But I mean, their next challenge is going to be quite the tough one now, having to play the MLS team, the LA Galaxy. That's going to be a pretty tough game.
I can't even come up with words right now. But yeah, it's definitely going to be, a huge challenge. But I think OCFC will do what they can. I think they'll come out playing hard, and they're going to have a game plan. They'll be ready.
So moving forward, the UPSL is taking applications for the next upcoming season, but there have been some NPSL teams that have been joining the UPSL, such as Tulsa Athletic and Oxnard Guerreros FC, who have recently joined in. What NPSL clubs can you expect to be joining into the UPSL?
Well, expecting to be joining is one thing. Who would I like to see join the UPSL this fall? I think the first team that comes to my mind is the New York Cosmos. Maybe they should put one of their teams in the UPSL. I think, when you think of New York Cosmos, plenty of history going back to the NASL, the original NASL and the one that didn't really last too long.
Any other teams in particular that you would probably expect? Anything from possibly OCFC?
Well, I believe it's possible that they might be putting in, I think OCFC too, the reserve squad might be in the UPSL in the fall, but I cannot confirm that.
So the deadlines for the application is on July 7th, so make sure to submit your applications very quickly. It's going to be about 1 month away from now. And also, fans, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms, on Instagram, Facebook, and even on Twitter. Don't forget to comment down below on all of our videos. We'll be sure to choose one of your videos, choose that on our final thoughts, and answer your question as we step aside here on Inside the UPSL. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Emax. And now we'd like to welcome in Christian Vallejos into the show. Christian, how you doing tonight? Thanks so much for being on the show.
No, thank you guys for inviting me to the show. I appreciate it a lot. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you on the show as well, but we'd like to get things started, and I'd like to ask you first, the thing everyone wants to know is, where did the idea for a 16-team bracket come from? If you don't mind taking us back to how the process went about.
So, down here in South Florida, we cover a pretty vast area from Miami to Palm Beach County. It's a tri-county area that, there's 5 million people. It's a 2-hour drive between Miami and Palm Beach County. So one of the main reasons leagues didn't work out in South Florida with all the talent and soccer going on here was that travel time that, it just would complicate teams. And as soon as I got into the UPSL, my thing was always, how can I make the logistics work out the best? I've been in all the leagues. I've played. I've been involved. So I knew travel was something that, a home game in Miami 1 week, an away game 2 hours away, it was just killing leagues and teams, just not motivating players. So my big thing was I need to build up the league. I need to structure it. I gave Palm Beach their own division. For the first time ever, they have a USASA national league to play in week out all year round. And that was a big boost for that part of South Florida. The Miami teams, they're a little more used to it, but they loved it with the travel reducing, drastically, from 2 hours to max 30 minutes. And so that was step one. And then because of it, we didn't have many teams in each division. There's 10 to 12 teams per division. So we worked it out to be about 11 to 12 games. And, some people believe 12 to 14 games is a good regular season. So I made an agreement with the 20 odd teams. Look, we're gonna beat 11 or 12 games, but I'm gonna do a round of 16. The top 8 will make it, and we'll add an extra game, an extra chance to make the playoffs. So that's where the teams were like, okay, it's pretty, it works out because I got another chance. Because before it was the top 4 teams, now it's the top 8 teams. There's another chance to get into the playoffs. Maybe they build their teams better as the season goes on. And, that's where the idea was born from my part. Everybody approved, and we moved forward.
Christian, Art Takari here. And, when looking at the bracket, Red Forest Football Club and Hurricane FC are the number 1 seeds in South Florida. But why will Florida Soccer Soldiers still be the favorite? And in your opinion, what other teams should people be looking out for?
Yeah, Soldiers are a top team, especially with their U.S. Open Cup run. The U.S. Open Cup was a little bit of a burden on them in the regular season with their scheduling, so that's why they ended in the 3rd seed. It was understandable. Every team in the league tried to supported them 100% through the Open Cup. Some games weren't able to be played. That's fine. They had to sacrifice on their seeding, but yeah, they'll still be a favorite. Boca Raton is an excellent team with a lot of history in South Florida. They're a strong team. Miami Sun, they're the winners of the South Division last season. Very strong team. Lost to Charleston from Maryland in the regional final last season. Miami Sun's a great team. Hialeah City is a sleeper. That's going to be a great match in Port St. Lucie. Another top club who joined us. That is actually the most northernest team in Port St. Lucie for the first time, having a pro development, semi-pro team up in Port St. Lucie. That's going to be a phenomenal match. I want to say it's on Sunday. So, we got a lot of teams, and then it's the playoffs, so you never know, right? You never know who if there's going to be some upsets. Oh, the Palm Beach Spartans, another phenomenal team. They got a big showdown against Miami United on Saturday. So, all 6 teams got something. The Breakers, they're a strong team in Palm Beach County, historic, doing good things, got good people behind them, a lot of support. So, they could surprise people. They just went on like a 4-game winning streak, so we'll see.
Now now switching gears a little bit, but of course we're still talking Florida, but now from the media side, have you been surprised by PSL United's Mike Cujo numbers this season?
I'm not surprised, because their first game, they sold over 1,000 tickets within people attending their stadium. So once that happened, I've been working with them for a long time. They actually took about 10 months to prepare for their season, and they have a great support staff. They're a strong youth club with a lot of people, a lot of youth players, about 3,000 players that support that club. So, they have that backing, and plus they're the only team in their county that's a big county, up a little north of Palm Beach County. So, it's not shocking. They got a great team of guys over there working on the staff. So, they just do it right.
A lot of great things coming from Florida, and that you of course, I'm pretty sure you had the feeling that this question was coming. But tell me about the effect that Chad Johnson has had, playing in the UPSL.
Man, it's been great. Chad. I have a funny story with Chad Johnson. We actually his first soccer was actually played with a couple of buddies of mine. We would play 8-a-side, like an 8-a-side midweek tournament, and he just showed up, and then he just started playing every day, and started playing futsal every day, and his love for soccer just keeps growing. He lives out there by Boca, so it made sense for him to join Boca. He scored 2 goals against the Breakers the other day. A lot of fans behind him, so it's great to have him in the league.
And next, this involves, earlier you mentioned Palm Beach. Now, in your opinion, do you think Casimir Raul of Palm Beach Spartans is UPSL Florida's best goal scorer?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I mean, he is putting up great numbers in his 3 seasons. I want to say this is his 3rd season in the UPSL, and he's always been the leading goal scorer down here in South Florida. And he's a phenomenal player. He was on the Haitian U17 and U20 national team, so it just doesn't surprise me that he puts up those numbers. He has a great work ethic. I've seen him practice. There's been some pro teams around that have made some contact about him, and we're trying to get that figured out for him. And hopefully he moves on and has a professional career, and then the UPSL was that showcase for him.
Christian, final question. In its own way, this is like a Champions League of South Florida. What kind of lasting effects can you see this tournament having?
It's the first of its kind in South Florida. Nobody's fully integrated South Florida in something like this. So, I've actually gotten a lot of calls since it's been announced from interest and people who want to join the league. So, hopefully it just picks up the steam and, gets the ball rolling for more teams to join and to just create a more competitive environment around South Florida.
Mm-hmm. Well, Christian, we thank you so much for stopping by and for your time.
No, thank you guys so much. Love the show.
Thank you so much for the support and for the love. And with that, we're going to go ahead and step aside and hear from our sponsors.
Mr. John manages a small football club with just a few followers. Every day he wonders, how can I attract more supporters? Internet is the answer, but a channel is time-consuming, expensive, and hard to maintain. Everything has changed since Mr. John met MyCujo, the football broadcasting solution for small and medium-sized clubs and leagues. Mr. John noticed how everything has started to change quickly when supporters and fans began to arrive. If you want your club to enjoy the same benefits as Mr. John's, sign up with MyCujo.tv. Attract more followers for your club and empower its business now. MyCujo, democratization of football broadcasting. MyCujo.tv.
Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Emax. And now it's the MyCujo UPSL Goal of the Week, presented by The Right Stuff, the league's official partner. Herrera. It is 3-0. And those are some of the candidates for this week's goal of the week. Art, there's been a lot of good candidates, and I feel like a broken record every week that we do the show, but this week's been pretty tough, and I know you and I watched the goals of the week videos a couple of times before we even made the decision, but what were your thoughts on this week's candidates?
A lot of good goals. I mean, these are, when you vote on them, it's a tough decision because you vote and you see, wait, why is it the person I voted for is only getting 13%? But whatever. I mean, I'll move past that. But I really liked Opayemi Amao's goal from Philadelphia Lone Star. A beauty.
I like Amao's goal too, and you got to give credit to the energized fan right there. You should have heard him yelling goal, and I really appreciate the energy right there. And that's a very tough goal for Amao to be able to make. He's cutting to his right side, being able to take the shot right over the goalie, right in the top right corner. And what a tough goal to make if you're Amao right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, a lot of, from the fans, a lot of positive energy. Philadelphia Lone Star, the city of brotherly love. So some great things, a lot of great goals we're seeing around the UPSL.
And then Jesse Guerra's shot was actually pretty impressive as well, shooting from the 15-yard line, and he was actually shooting that one off balance. He looked like he was falling back and was still able to get a good quality shot to go in, and that's pretty tough to do in itself.
Yeah, it definitely is, and right now he's leading with the most votes from Nevada Coyotes FC.
And then that third goal by Carlos Zamaripa, shooting with the left foot. I mean, I don't know if he's dominant with his left foot or with his right, but it looked like that was a little bit more of the foot that he's not as dominant to make. That's like trying to throw with your left arm or trying to shoot with your left, and that's a pretty impressive shot right then and there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, we'd have to do some of our homework to find out, which foot he's more comfortable shooting with. Maybe he does great, maybe he could do the same with each one. But either way, awesome goal for sure for Utah Murciélagos.
That's pretty hard to be able to be ambidextrous right there, being able to shoot with your right or even with your left. That takes a lot of talent, a lot of heart right there, and a lot of hard work there. But last but not least, the last shot by Eddie Puskaric with the shot over the goalie's head. That one is where I'm still the first goal of the week or this last one. It's just so difficult to really figure out and really to make that vote. And I don't know if that's just for me. What are your thoughts on as far as these two first goals?
Well, the two that you're comparing with Puskaric and Amao, yeah, they were pretty similar. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like it's going to take some time for the voting to take place for the percentages to even out because, Eddie Puskaric's goal was a quality one as well for Texas Spurs.
And speaking of time, guys, you still have time to be able to get your last-minute votes. The polls will close tonight at 11:59 p.m. You can vote on our social media platforms, especially on Twitter. Don't forget to vote tonight. But when we come back, it'll be time for us to swing our way to the East Coast swing. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV EMAX. As we make our way to the East Coast swing, as we talk about the pressing topics across the UPSL East. We'll first start off over in the Florida region, as the championship will soon be crowned as the playoffs start this week. What are your predictions going into the playoffs, Art?
Well, I feel like if any fans of Florida Soccer Soldiers were listening to the UPSL podcast, probably not the biggest fan of my predictions when Florida Soccer Soldiers were in the U.S. Open Cup. So this time, I am picking Florida Soccer Soldiers to come out on top of this 16-team South Florida bracket. I'm not sure if they're going to be happy with me making that prediction. Maybe they want me to keep on going against them so that way they keep winning. But regardless, going Florida Soccer Soldiers.
Well, I don't think the number one teams like Red Force FC and even Hurricane FCs are going to be pretty happy with your answer, all right?
They're not, but, this is the way. But you can't make everyone happy. I'm not a miracle worker. I'm just, on the show.
You're just Art Eftikari.
That's correct.
Okay, I appreciate that, but, I think it's going to be a bang, and the viewership is going to be dramatic, and I think it's going to be a really big deal over there in Florida. And you know how it goes over there, just getting 1,000+ on the views over in Maikuju. But now let's shift over to the Southeast, as Soda City FC captured the Mid-Atlantic South B Division. They've been hot lately, haven't they?
They definitely have, yeah. Winning four of the last five. But here's where I got to share, some controversy. And I was, on my Cujo, while eating cornflakes in the morning, I was watching, the highlights of, Low Country United against Soda City. And, Soda City won 1-0 on a goal scored in the 84th minute by Graham Jermstad. And what Low Country United was not happy about is that, there was a foul and a free kick in a pretty dangerous position. But it was the Low Country United players that were just sitting around just waiting for something to happen. And Soda City did not wait for the whistle. They just did the quick restart. Graham Jermstad gets the pass, scores, and there was a lot of, there was a big delay. And even the play-by-play announcer for Low Country United was saying that, he had not seen something like that before. So after watching that, it makes me say to the commentator, hey, well, you haven't been watching soccer that long, because many teams and smart players have done the restart. And for the Low Country United players, you can't just keep on waiting for the whistle. You got to be on your heels the entire game. So, lesson learned, and if they're paying attention, they should write that down.
Heels or toes?
Either one. Just be ready, just always be aware. Don't, they got caught sleeping.
I think I could definitely agree on that controversy right there. When it comes to the game of soccer, there's just so many surprises. Teams are it's such a quick-paced game. There's no time to really sit around for anything. It's very quick-paced. You just got to be ready for anything. So, unfortunately for that team. But now, let's head on over to the Atlantic Caribbean, as the KSA Pro Profile beat Honduras 5 Stars, pulling it over, and now both teams tied with 16 points.
That's true. They both have 16 points. They're 1 point behind the Atlanta Generals. But, just a few days ago on June the 2nd, that was actually a bad day for the Atlanta Generals. I mean, whoever's, a fan of the Atlanta Generals probably wondering what I'm talking about. Well, they won 2-0 by forfeit against KSA Pro, but that's because KSA Pro did not show up. And I really admire the Atlanta Generals because they were disappointed that they didn't get to play. I mean, these are the kinds of attitudes you have got to love, because they wanted to play. It wasn't just, okay, we won by forfeit, cool, let's head on over, to Pizza Hut and, celebrate. They wanted to play, and I respect that.
So I'm assuming right after all the OCFC games, you went to Pizza Hut and you celebrated?
Well, depends on the location, but in the last one in Vegas, just went to go play some games.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I did.
So that's better than the Pizza Hut post-game surprise or the celebration.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? I wasn't ready with my best answer. But yeah, hey, but you can't go wrong with pizza after soccer.
So can we be looking at a little bit of a 3-team race between Honduras 5 Stars and with the KSA Pro Profile and along with the Generals?
Absolutely. It is a 3-team race, and it's very, very exciting down in the Atlanta Caribbean.
So who takes the top? Who's going to be that first place spot in the end?
It's a toss-up, but I think I'm going to go with the Generals.
Okay. Now let's shift our attention over to the Northeast, as everyone has lost at least once, but the Lone Star stands alone out from. Can anyone beat them at all? Is there a team out there that can really stand a chance?
You know, it's tough because there's a lot of excitement because Philadelphia Lone Star has a 3-point lead over New Jersey Teamsters, but one thing worth pointing out now is that the Teamsters have a game in hand. So this is going to get exciting. I think the Teamsters are definitely the Teamsters have a chance to beat Philadelphia Lone Star.
And not to mention that they have been unbeaten within the last 5 games, so they're coming in pretty hot. And you know what this old saying goes in sports, the hot teams that go into the playoffs usually win it all, and that's a pretty good sign for them, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to peak at the right time. You know, you don't want to just be super hot early in the season and you kind of start tailing off a bit.
Now let's talk about a little bit of some Midwest action, as the Bavarian Soccer Soldiers celebrating their 90th...
Soccer club.
Oh, soccer club. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. But they're celebrating their 90th anniversary. Wrong club right there. Last weekend. What do you think it means for the American club to have such history there?
Well, I think it just means a lot, and it says so much about how long that team has been there. I mean, 90 years. I mean, Major League Soccer has only been around since 1996. I mean, MLS is like new compared to Bavarian Soccer Club, and I think that it says a lot. And this is the kind of team that needs a lot of support and needs to keep getting bigger and bigger. And a team being around that long, with whoever is running the show there, maybe that's a team that eventually has got to move up to higher leagues.
So this team is generally older than the MLS, is what you're saying?
Much older.
Wow.
Much older.
That's a lot of history to think about it. And just imagine, wait till 10 more years to come. They're going to have their 100th anniversary, and that you got to expect them to be going big on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they should have something ready by then. Maybe they'll be in a higher league by that point. I think that should be their goal.
Will they go to Pizza Hut for their 100th anniversary?
I think probably not. If it's Bavarian Soccer Club, they're probably going to be eating a lot of bratwurst and maybe with some spätzle, some good German food.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. I've never even tried it before, but hey, I'm for it. I want to try it out now.
You got to.
So now, final stop will be over in the Central region as the first-year club Footsie Factory Premier, dominating League One in North Division, and they earned the promotion to the UPSL Championship North Division.
Yes, that's Footy Factory Premier, yes. And yeah, I mean, they talk about dominance. I mean, a 14-point lead on Águilas FC. That's a team in second place. So definitely a runaway, not much of a challenge. And it's going to be, for them going to the UPSL Championship North, and, down the Central, that's exactly what they need because they need to be challenged. I mean, that's the bottom line.
And that's not something you hear about every day. First-year club getting that promotion, that's a pretty big deal for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a team name that's a team name you cannot forget. I mean, Footy Factory Premier. I mean, I already want to check out their social media and see what check out their website and see what they're all about.
Kind of sounds like a shoe store. Like I'd want to go shopping at the Footy Factory Premier, right?
Yeah, I mean, it can be confused for a big shoe store, sure.
So, I mean, this team being so successful and all, like, what has worked for them to be able to be so successful like that? Like, what is it about this team?
Just having a good organization and, talented players and who are committed to winning every practice, every game, taking care of business. That's what it's all about for them.
And that's going to be the end of the tune called East Coast Swing. But when we come back, we're going to go say what's up to the UPSL West Side. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Emax. As we say, what's up to the UPSL West Side? What's up, Art?
What's up?
As we take a look at what's cracking on the UPSL West Side. We'll first start off over in the Southwest as High Plains Drifter FC, still unbeaten at a 4-1-0 record in its first season. Will they remain unbeaten?
That's a tough question. I mean, of course, there's the team from Amarillo, Texas. They will host Sporting AZFC in league play, and Sporting AZFC has a perfect record right now: 4 wins, no losses, no ties, and their last win against Southwest FC on the 26th of May. They won that in that 4-0 win. A brace, 2 goals for Chris Ramsell, 2 goals for Danny Baca. It's hard to say that if they're gonna, of course they have a chance to stay unbeaten, but I'm going, going with Sporting AZFC. That's a team that's really tough to beat.
And I feel like show in and show out, we've really been talking about Sporting AZFC and how dominant this team is. But talking in High Plains Drifters FC perspective, what are the keys to be able to beat Sporting AZFC? I mean, there has to be a weakness for this squad.
I mean, it depends on how the game goes. I mean, who's going to be in the lineup? There's so many things you got to take into consideration, but you definitely want to attack on the wings. But like I said, if Sporting AZFC comes out with with a much better squad, it's going to turn into one of those things where you sit back, play some defense, park the bus a bit, and try to burn them on the counters.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and move over to the Mountain Region with Boise FC coming up with a draw 1-1 versus San Juan FC, then losing 0-2 to Idaho Falls FC. How can we describe this season? Could we describe it as a roller coaster ride?
Absolutely, and it's also one of those seasons. It's just like any soccer season, that just because you get this positive result against a team that's really good doesn't mean that the next time you play a different team that maybe is not as good, not doing as well in the standings, or maybe you think they're not as good as the other team you just played, doesn't mean you're guaranteed. You're not guaranteed anything. So this is what Boise FC has to understand, and just they got to be ready to bring their A game every game, because anything can happen on any given day, any given night.
I just think that's how soccer is. Nothing's ever really given in soccer. You can go into a game playing the best team in the league, and then out of nowhere you come up with the victory, and you just think to yourself, did we just win? Did we beat them?
Yeah, of course. I mean, sometimes you can surprise even yourself.
So now let's talk a little bit about the Pacific Northwest, as Arctic Rush taking on the Atlanta City FC in the first official league game over in Alaska. What are you predicting to happen there?
Well, Arctic Rush against Alaska City FC, yeah, it's very exciting. On the other night when we were recording the UPSL podcast, we talked to Kai Cockrum. His Twitter handle is at Alaskan Footy. Had a lot of great things to say, and this is hard to say what to expect, but I mean, it's gonna be it's big. UPSL in Alaska, the last frontier. I mean, the other night I was so excited about this, I almost kicked Dennis Pope right in the face.
So it was. I feel it. I really do feel that, and I really think that's a big deal, just to be able to have Alaska joining it finally. We've been talking about Alaska for such a long time. It's finally happening now. They're actually playing league games, and I can't emphasize it enough. It's actually happening.
Yeah, and I want to try and find that game on my Cujo, and I think it'd be really, it's a big thing. I guess I wanted to use groundbreaking or whatever, but I'm not trying to come up with too many different words. But yeah, definitely great news for the last frontier.
Still any chances that we can travel to Alaska, possibly do an Inside the UPSL show?
I would be up for it. Faye, of course, you're preaching to the choir here. I think it'd be a good idea.
Hopefully they're listening in and they'll allow the three of us. I mean, I'm speaking for Dennis, but I think Dennis would like the idea of going to Alaska, don't you think?
Of course, yeah. Just to kill two birds with one stone. Go to Alaska, see some UPSL soccer.
A little bit of a different region for the UPSL, but now moving over to NorCal, as Contra Costa FC defeating Pajaro Valley FC 6-1 in a Wild West showdown to claim the division in the first season. That's pretty impressive. I mean, first of all, impressive the fact that it ended at a 6-1 game, winning it 5-game difference, and getting it done on their first year. Being a part of the UPSL and what they've already achieved, big deal for them.
Yeah, I mean, 24 points, a positive 21 goal difference, and Luis Angel Navarro had 2 goals and 1 assist in that dominant win over Pajaro Valley. So just like we've been saying all season long, and we continue to say it, great things coming from Contra Costa FC.
And of course, this team being the first year, what would be some tips or some pointers, moving on to the playoffs? We can make that assumption that they're going to make it to the playoffs, but what would be some tips and pointers so they don't get carried away moving forward and not think, oh, we got this in the bag, or, just what would be some things that you would say?
I would just say, just don't even think about the playoffs themselves. Just don't think about the playoffs. Just look at your next opponent like it's just another game that's been added. That's a long regular season. That's the only thing I could really say. Just take it one game at a time. It's just another game. Don't start putting things in your head.
So let's go to our final stop over in SoCal as the LA Wolves FC hosting Cuervos FC and the Winds FC hosting Sporting San Fernando. Who advances and who's going to go home?
I'm going to go with LA Wolves FC, grinding out a win over Cuervos FC, and I'm picking Santa Ana Winds FC to get past Sporting San Fernando. I think, when it comes to UPSL in Southern California, name teams like the Wolves and Winds. Those are the teams you're always very familiar with, and these are teams that always have really good teams.
Are we going to expect a beatdown? Are we just going to expect a nail-biting game? Is it going to just get down to the nitty-gritty, just a 1-0 game? What do you think we can be expecting from? Well, I guess we could talk about the Wolves and the Cuervos game first.
I think it's going to be a close one. I think both of these games will be close, but I see Wolves coming out with a close victory and wins against Sporting San Fernando. I think it'll be another tough one, and you never know. I think that one I'm predicting a penalty shootout.
That's a pretty big prediction right then and there, but if it comes down to that, I'd love to be a part of that and just being able to see that. Penalties always, that's a really big nail biter there, and just getting everybody up on their seats and just everybody just so nervous and really pressured right there. I imagine that's what you felt like a couple weeks ago for OCFC, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, penalty shootouts are fun. Like I said before, shootouts are fun. In my opinion, they're fun when it doesn't involve your favorite team. But when it does involve your favorite team, yeah, it's very nerve-wracking. That's all I could say.
Well, that's all the time that we have left here in Inside the UPSL. We thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We'd also like to thank Christian Vallejos for coming on the show, along with Art F. Dakari. Always a pleasure to have you coming along. I was your host, Alex Nebeja. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night, everybody.